Whew, that is a scary looking putt right there. Man, I really hope I don't miss this birdie putt. Here we are again. Another putt, another opportunity to disappoint myself. Yeah, if I could just not throw this right into the cage, that'd be pretty nice. Another Jasper. What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we are back with a video with some lessons that I learned from last week's tournament because, guys, surprisingly, it went pretty poorly. I knew that the tee shots were going to be rough, but one of the biggest reasons that I go to tournaments and compete in tournaments is so that I can do live action learning, especially when I have the chance to walk with some amateur or recreational level cards. And if there was one thing that I noticed throughout the entire weekend, whether I was following an amateur card or even playing on a professional card, it was that putting was the bane of most every single person's existence. I think there was a pretty common mistake or issue that so many players were coming across, and we want to address it here today. But before diving in, I want to talk about a quick opportunity here on the Robbie C channel. This video drops on Thursday, November 17th, which means that December is just a cool casual 14 days away. And with December means that once again here on the Robbie C channel, we are going to be doing Vlogmas. 25 days, 25 videos where we're going to be dropping a new video every single day, which could prove exciting because I'm definitely on the calendar to have a sinus surgery to get all this cleared out. Yeah, in the middle of it. But what does Vlogmas mean for the opportunity here on the Robbie C channel? If you've got a brand, product, or channel that you want to get the word out to, I want to create some opportunities for you to advertise here. Now, normally when I say something along the lines of, and we can't talk about bogeys and llamas without talking about today's video sponsor, the Bogey Llama. But in Vlogmas, we want to help get the word out about you and your amazing stuff. That means I've got 25 videos with 25 ad spot opportunities, and because it's Vlogmas, I take what I normally would charge and I reduce it quite a bit. So if you're curious or have an amazing product, channel, or you're just great and you want people to know about your great disc dive, shoot me an email at robbiecdiscgolf@gmail.com and we'll talk about what sponsorship opportunities we have available for those Vlogmas videos. With all that being said, enough business, let's dive into putting. So here's the thing about putting. When it comes to disc golf, I think there are three categories worth of people, and those are: one, the people who hate putting and know they're really bad at it; two, the people who are good at putting and are extremely confident at it; and three, the people who just maybe are on one day and maybe are off the other day. But if I had to guess based on conversations, there are a lot more people in group 1 than there are in groups 2 and 3. And if I had to go a step further, I'd say the crazy people like me that find ourselves in group 2 are few and far between. So after watching a bunch of people, like I said, pros and amateurs included, and seeing this put into action all weekend long, I want to talk about the number one reason that I think lots of people find themselves in group 1 and stay in group 1. But we can't putt if we never get near the basket. Here we go. Yeah. That'll do, Charlie. That'll do. I think that the number one issue that people face when it comes to disc golf putting is focus. There are a lot of things that you can be focusing on while you are putting here on the green. And if I were a betting man and I could find myself inside the head of most players, I would say that most every single person who struggles at putting is focused on the wrong thing. One of the first areas, and probably the most common, that people focus on incorrectly is that they focus on failure. Some of the excuses that you heard in the introduction are common vernacular that either you have probably said to yourself or you've heard card mates most definitely say. Rather than focusing on success or seeing the putt go into the basket, we are focused on all of the wrong things by how we are going to disappoint ourselves or how we are going to do the following motion incorrectly, which would lead to a negative result. This weekend, before I played my round, I had the chance to walk with one of my amazing Birdie Fam members every morning. And I remember him stepping up to a putt that was about 18 feet with a drastic drop off behind the basket. and he jokingly said to his card, "Ooh, this putt is super scary." And as his makeshift caddy and coach in that moment, I told him to literally step away from the putt. Whether joking or not, had him focusing on everything that could go wrong with the putt, and so suddenly he had brought into the equation more factors and possibilities rather than thinking about jamming that putt straight into the chain. So he did step away, and what made me super proud is that he didn't soft that putt at all. He came in with complete confidence rather than thinking, oh, I need to come in soft or I need to come in loose because if I miss, it's not going to go that far past the basket. What's going to happen if you miss shouldn't be coming into your head, especially when you find yourself inside of those confident putting ranges. Now, when I'm talking about a focus on failure, understand that I'm not saying that you should walk up to 60 or 70 foot death putts and give them a complete run and just throw caution to the wind and say, Mr. YouTube man told me I should run it at all times because I'm never going to fail. I am not saying that you'll never miss a putt again, but maybe you're the anomaly and you are not focused on failure and you're thinking to yourself, well, Robbie, if I still have a focus issue, what am I focusing on that's making me miss anyway? I think the second thing that people focus on that distracts them from hitting putts as best they can is that they focus on correcting their technique rather than riding what they have throughout the round. All too often, I have seen players come to the practice green or the putting green and, sorry, got distracted by the beauty of the inner core hunting some chains. If you're a Group 1 player who truly hates putting, then I can only assume that you have put in the work or effort to try to fix your putt a multitude of times. You have a lot of thoughts on why your putt works the way it does, but the issue is that when you step up to the practice green to warm up before you play your round, sometimes the putt that you've been throwing for the past 3 days works and it seems to be going in the basket every time. But if I were to guess, most often it doesn't necessarily work out for you on the practice green, which puts you in immediate scramble mode that you need to change your technique if you want to sink any putts during the round. So because you have spent so much time trying to change your technique and find a putt that just gives you any semblance of consistency, you are making micro adjustments, and even what feels like micro adjustments might actually be huge adjustments to your form, drastically changing the results and consistency of your putting throughout not only the round you're playing, but every single round that you play while you're out there on the course. Now, the last thing that I think people focus on incorrectly throughout the round is that they focus on the next shot rather than finishing the shot that they have directly in front of them. I have done it before. I've stepped up to a 10-footer or a 12-footer that should have felt or been an absolute tap-in, and I have been completely distracted thinking, well, obviously I'm going to count this stroke and already moving on to the next tee shot or the next shot opportunity, and I completely forget to stay dedicated to this putt right here and think about following it through all the way into the chains. And let me tell you, because I have been around Tournament Central plenty of times to hear all of the people show up after the round and tell me, dude, you never believe it. I would have been 17 down if I wouldn't have missed at least 6 10-footers. If you have practiced putting at all or have a consistent putting stroke at all, a 10-foot putt should be so routine for you that if you're missing 6 of them during the same round, you have a focus problem. And if you have a focus problem, I want to give you 4 quick solutions. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 are solutions to the 3 focus problems that we talked about in the beginning of this video. But solution number 1 is the sponsor of this video, Discdot. You've heard me talk about Discdots for a long time, but my favorite part about Discdot is the idea and their mantra of focus, putt, and repeat. How do I know the dots work? Because it is actually illegal, according to the PDGA, for you to take that dot out during the round and stick it onto the chain, because the extra focus and target that it would give you on the chain, it is considered a competitive advantage. But if you work disc dots into your practice putting routine, and even if you use them while you're warming up on the practice basket, and because the dots are so beautifully colored, you can still visualize it on the chain even when it isn't actually there during the round. So if you want to start helping fix your focus problem, make sure you head over to disc.usa.com and use code RCDiscGolf at checkout to save yourself not only a few bucks, but several strokes along the way. I can say with confidence, and I don't think it's like bragging to feel like I am one of the best putters on my hard every single time that I play a round of disc golf, and I can attribute a ton of that confidence to working with Discdot. So what is focus solution number 2 for all of you focusing on failure or focusing on the negative? Well, it's easier said than done, but focus on success. When I'm stepping up to a gap like this, thinking and praying that I hope I make it, I've already set myself up for failure. By focusing on throwing flat and smooth and focusing on a correct release point, that is what it's going to take to get through the gap. So rather than focusing on the what if, I'm just going to focus on what I want to do and what I need to do. And if I focus on that and I do that, every time that I try to, I should hit the gap. The drawback here being that the inner core goes like 800 feet with minimal effort. So yeah, don't know that we're gonna get a birdie on this one, but we hit the gap. And literally, think about the irony of what just happened. I was thinking about it as I walked up this fairway, that I said, let's focus on the positives, focus on what we can do. And then I literally said out loud, I don't think we're gonna get the birdie here, which is a negative thought. I'm going to change my mindset. I'm gonna walk in and think about how often I've hit a big putt like this and how often I've been able to throw the putter successfully, glide through the air and hit the chain. When I change that to being my focus, it's amazing how much bigger the basket feels. So the odds of me making this putt feel so much higher. I feel like I threw a good and solid putt and it didn't go in. I'm not a touring pro, so percentage wise, me making 40, 45 foot putts uphill isn't going to be a make that I make all the time. But walking in confident that I can make the putt is always going to give me a better chance than walking in thinking about all the possibilities and bringing them to the table of how I'm going to miss the putt. And another quick tip is that if you're stepping up to that putt and you're being realistic with yourself and trying to talk yourself into it, but you know that it's still a very low percentage chance of you making that putt, there is nothing wrong with stepping up to another shot that you know you can execute well, and that is executing a really solid layup and putting it under the basket. So what about a focus on technique change, where stepping in, making those micro adjustments that are actually having a macro effect on my throw? This is slippery, so we're either gonna have to throw from the side or we're gonna throw from here with a standstill. We're gonna throw a lot of standstills this offseason, so I might as well get used to it. My solution to that is to practice for feel rather than practice for results. The players that are making those adjustments throughout the round are making those adjustments because when they're practicing their routine and when they're practicing in their backyard, all they are focused on is, did this disc get in the basket? I can look at a moment like that and I can say, yes, the disc just went in the basket, but if I'm being transparent, it did not feel like a good putt. Felt like it came out of my hands a little late and it was a little low for my liking because I didn't take into the fact that I was downhill from the basket and therefore I needed to putt higher. But the disc went in, so according to lots of people, that was a good putt. Results, especially in putting, can be incredibly deceiving. Lots of times people think about recording themselves when they throw drives, but they don't often think about recording themselves when they throw putts. I will often set up my camera to record my putting sessions as well, and after I throw a really good one, I will stop, look at the camera and be like, ooh, that was it. Take a look, future Robbie. Let's dial that in. It's important to know that for a little bit of clarity, my good putt also, yes, does go in the basket most of the time. But just like I can throw a bad putt that still finds its way in, I can throw a really good putt that does not find itself inside of the chains. But by practicing, I develop a consistent stroke in my backyard, and when that good putt feels off, I often, based on the flight of the disc, can tell what I'm doing wrong and make a quick adjustment to get back to that good putt rather than trying to get back to putts that happen to be falling in that day. And our last one comes from those of you not focused on finishing the shot in front of you. And to that, I probably have my weirdest suggestion yet, and that is to focus on your feet. Two incredible women that I know in my life have a hashtag they use on social media that is hashtag where are my toes today. If you guys think I'm an overtly positive person, you definitely haven't met Lydia and Priscilla. The way I've interpreted their hashtag, while their family was put into a terribly unfortunate circumstance, they look down at their feet and reminds themselves of the journey that they're on and what impact are they having on where they are at right now. So before every putt, you'll often see me spin my disc and I'm looking down. It's because I'm looking down at my toes. I'm thinking about the shot that I'm in right there. I'm thinking about the impact of this moment moment and the beauty of getting to be out here playing disc golf, or the beauty of being in this pressure moment or having the opportunity for this putt. Once I lock in that happy thought or that happy moment, I simply lock in that smile, look up, address the basket, and think to myself, you got this, dude. How could you miss it? That basket is huge. And lots of times we get the chance to hit the putt. But if I'm not focused on my toes and focused on staying in the shot that I am right now, and I start worrying about the next one, the odds of me making or finishing the hole correctly are a lot lower. So for one last clarification, I'm not asking you to be overtly cocky on the putting green. I'm asking you to step in and find that confidence on the putting green so that we don't find ourselves fearful on every single tee shot or up shot that we have to absolutely park the basket because putting is so hard. With a little bit of a focus shift and a lot of practice, you too can be looking at these baskets and realize just how big they are. I will say, I like to see a little bit of fun in the comments, and I want to know, a little bit of a debate that we'll have down there is, what do you think has more pressure on it? Do you think that a birdie putt has more pressure on it, or does a bogey putt have more pressure on it? It was an interesting conversation that my housemates had this weekend, and I'd love to know your thoughts. I want to say thank you for watching as always, and I hope this video is helpful and that you can move from group 1 to group 2 out there on the putting green. In the meantime, I hope you have an amazing rest of the week and that you make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, I'm going to leave you with the birdie.